Welcome to the Not So Late Night Show with Emma Straub. Featuring tonight's special guests, Lauren Graham. Debut authors Afia Atakora, Alexandra Chang, and Tobly McSmith. With special musical guests, Sharon Van Etten and Stephin Merritt. Hi, everybody. This is Emma Straub, and welcome to Not Books Are Magic. You are not at Books Are Magic right now, but you are at the launch party for my new book, All Adults Here. And because I was sad that obviously we couldn't have the event in the store right now, we're doing it this way, and I invited a lot of friends. Okay, so I want to just thank you, first of all, for coming as an author and as your bookseller. And so as your bookseller in particular, I'm going to be reminding you with the help of my events team to buy stuff throughout the evening. We're going to put in links in the chat to all of the authors' books and to our two musical guests' records. And I will even prod you to do more than that. Okay, but I'm so excited. As you saw in our little intro, we have really fantastic guests, and we're starting with a true bang. So Sharon Van Etten, when we opened the bookstore, was one of our constituents. She lived nearby, and it was a real thrill to get to know her. And her new record, Remind Me Tomorrow, is so beautiful. And I was listening to it a lot when I was writing the book. And there was one song in particular called No One's Easy to Love that I just thought, oh, well, that's perfect, actually. I need that for an epigraph. And so I wrote to Sharon, and she very, very nicely said yes, and that I could use it. And then even nicer, really, maybe even much nicer, she agreed to come here and sing it. So Sharon, if you would be so kind as to turn on your camera and your microphone. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you. It's so sunny where you are still.
I know. There are days, the days are sunnier than usual. Dark, but also nice. Yeah. It's really nice to see you. Thanks for asking me.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so thrilled. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off my camera, and I'm gonna let Sharon do her thing. And then I think the funniest thing about Zoom is the lack of applause. I don't know. So just know, Sharon, that I'm gonna be clapping wildly throughout. And thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna turn my camera off, and I'm gonna let Sharon go.
Sweet calling me is a love's past. As you open the door and tell me how you love me so much, the resistance and feeling something that she put down before. Be quiet as you could not feel more. Too much has changed, I can't let you walk in the night. I wish away my love, leave with the dark. Acting as if all the pain in the world was my fault. Leave me here, my love. Don't say goodbye. No one seems to love. Don't look down my tears. Don't be afraid. No one seems to love. Don't look back at tears. Just say you tried. There was a question you asked, is your father a man? You know what I think you should do, ask yourself the same. What is the difference between now and then? I'm not sure. Prove me wrong, but don't say I lied. Don't please still love. Don't look down at me. Don't be surprised. No one seems to love. Don't look back at me. Just say you tried. Oh, oh,
Okay. There's my attempt at that. No one's easy to love for Emma. Congratulations on your new book. It's an honor to be part of it. So thank you for asking me. Are you still there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was muted. Sorry, I was just talking about how wonderful and amazing you were, and we've enabled the chat now so people can clap for you in a virtual manner. But thank you so much, Sharon. That was so beautiful. I was getting text messages during it saying, people like, oh, thank you for my personal Sharon Van Etten concert. So mission accomplished. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sharon. All right. I'm gonna, so Sharon, you can decamera yourself. You're the best.
Okay.
And next up,
Up to you.
next up, so the next guest is someone who I was thinking about a lot as I was planning this book, because I was thinking a lot about a little place called Stars Hollow. So if Miss Lauren Graham could please unmute and start video, that would be delightful. And until then, everybody just get excited. Hi! Hi! Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Thanks for coming to my Zoom party.
I have Zoomed something every single day since this all started, and I still can't figure it out.
I know. And I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good not to figure it out too much, because then you're like settling into like Zoom as normal life. So
Okay,
like
that's what I'm gonna go with. Every time I do it wrong, I'm just gonna go with that I'm protesting.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. Okay, so I have wait, I wrote cute things about you. Hold on. Okay, so you guys all know who Lauren Graham is, so I can skip some of the stuff. But what I will say is that, and I've said this to Lauren too, is that literally the only thing that I need in order to love a television program is that Lauren be on it. Like, that's it. That is my one requirement. And in particular, when writing this book, I was really genuinely thinking a lot about the Gilmore Girls and about parenthood. And I think I was like trying to mash them together in my own little way. And okay, so I want to talk about that, but first I want to talk about how we met, which is that, I mean, so you have 3 books. You've written 3 books. Like, everyone knows you're very famous television star of stage and screen. But I don't know if everyone knows that you've also written 3 books, and you hang with the coolest squad.
I know, I can't believe it.
It's really true, though. It's really true. And so I want to like back up a little bit in the life of Lauren Graham, the author, and like how did it start? I mean, I assume that you were always writing, because you just seem like that kind of a person, which is the right kind of a person, the good kind of person. But how did it start? And then how did you fall into your writer girl gang?
Well, first of all, I want to throw it back to you, who you wrote such a fantastic book, and it is exactly that is how I would have put it in a way, is that it is a mashup of the kind of more fantastical world of Stars Hollow with the big heart of parenthood, and it was just a joy to read, and also it just, the writing is so fantastic. In like line by line, it's one that I want to like go back and savor more, because I get very like what's going to happen, but the just the writing is so funny and warm and beautiful and just incredible. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And everyone should go buy your book. The Today Show also thinks so. And so I was a reader. First and foremost, I used to always say to Alexis on Gilmore Girls that I should have played, I mean, I was the wrong age, obviously, but her part, because that was me, much more than I was Lorelai, who was always, they'd always give me like magazines to read on set. I would be like, oh, Lorelai reads books sometimes too. And so I was just a reader with like a flashlight under the, under my blanket fort or whatever. And I just started writing as another form of expression, and kind of as a fun opportunity to play all the parts. Yeah. And imagine from everyone's perspective. And that's why my first book was a novel. And then the second book came out of the incredible, now it doesn't seem so incredible because everything turned into a reboot, but the incredible experience of going back to something that I had loved, but that kind of went by in a blur. And this time I would always say to people, it's like, what if you got to do, high school or college all over again, knowing what you know now? And it really caused me to reflect on kind of what the path was to get to the first iteration of Gilmore Girls, and then kind of what happened in between, and that turned into a book of essays. And then, but along the way, Jen Smith, who's a fantastic author and wonderful person, I was lucky to have her as my editor. And, you read about these authors who have relationships with their editors because it's such an intimate and important partnership. And I just was lucky that we became friends. And then it's really all of Jen's friends who are super cool writer people. And I kind of got to tag along as like the random, and what's been interesting is over the years, I've known they're mainly women. A lot of them have then gotten more into show business, like Jenny Han's, books are being made into movies and TV. And so thankfully I felt like I had something to offer. But it was a cold Brooklyn night when we came to Books Are Magic, which is also a wonderful place to order your books from. And so we met there at your store.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, owning a bookstore, I mean, I certainly didn't think about it this way, and it would be a really, really stupid reason to open a bookstore. But one of the bonuses is that if you are like the proprietor of an establishment, then really you can go up and just say hi to anybody who walks in. And it's not weird and creepy. You're like, you're being welcoming. So when you came in, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm saying hello. And I did.
But I already was a fan of you as a writer, so it was an equal, it's opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm like, oh no, that's gonna be one of my people, I just go,
Yeah. I think that's great. I have only regretted the times I haven't done that, because I get really shy. Most recently, I was with my friend May, and we were in a clothing store, and Annette Bening was there. And she was so cool and kind of like, oh, what are those shoes? And we walked out, and we didn't really say anything to her as an actor. We just shared a shoe experience. We didn't really share like, oh, well, you're an actor, and say you're incredible. And we both walked out going, why didn't we just say hi and just be gushy? Like, what's the worst that can happen,
Yeah. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Like, people give you a funny look. I will say sometimes people in the bookstore, because we have, there are, like, I would say there's like a weirdly large percentage of movie stars in the neighborhood.
In your neighborhood.
And it's and sometimes when they're in the store and I'm like, oh hi, I can see them be like, and then they're like, oh no, right, okay. But I'm like, I'm gonna harass you. I'm not gonna harass you. I'm like, that would be like, I'm not tacky. Okay, wait. I have a lot more questions though, Lauren. So wait. Okay. So my this is maybe like a long and weird question, but I'm just going to ask it anyway because here we are. So my question is that when you have played characters over long spans of time, whether it feels almost like writing a novel, in that by the end, when you look back at the beginning, you think, oh, what was I doing there? Like, that's not how she is, or whatever. Like, if you, obviously the character deepens over time, but have you ever had that experience where you look back at, like, the first season, or not even first season, but like first episodes or something, and think, oh, I didn't know that yet about this person?
For sure. I mean, television is strange in that you only have the information for the next week, and you
Right.
don't know where things are going. And sometimes you have to adjust along. It's more the adjustment in the moment of, that's not where I saw this going. Okay, how can I make this make sense? But I'm not a very cerebral, analytical actor. I would say exactly how you just described it is much more how I view writing. And in a weird way, I write like I'm an actor on a TV show. I really don't know where it's headed. Jen Smith and I talk about this all the time. I didn't plan enough. I didn't plan for it to take this long. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I didn't know Gilmore Girls would be 7 years. And I know so much more at the end than I knew at the beginning. And then when I start again, it feels like I learned nothing in the first process. I am working on a book right now, and I can't believe how not easier it is than any of them. But I know myself, because I think we, as any kind of creative people, unless you're Stephen King and you get up and you do whatever he does, ridiculous 5,000, 10,000 words a day, the part of the process is getting out of your own way. I don't know why, but it's not giving into the voice of whatever the doubt is. It's not giving into the, Googling research or whatever, it's just not giving in. It's kind of keeping yourself in a, and hopefully even better than that, it's finding a place of flow. Because I really find that how I am when I'm writing something is how it comes out. So if I'm full of doubt and anything less than some degree of joy, you can feel it. So what I'm doing, I can't remember if this is what you asked me, but what I'm doing now is just getting words on a page with no judgment, with no punctuation in many cases, with nothing. It's just words on a page, tell the stories I'm trying to tell, and I'll fix it later. Jen Smith does not work that way. She is precise from the beginning. And so you just kind of have to find your way. But I do think, and I've said this, but I really think any kind of anything I learned as a writer came from existing in fantastic writing as an actor. You know what I mean? You just can't, if the same ear that I knew when I first read that Gilmore Girls script, I was like, "Ooh, I know what this voice is. I know this person." And it's that same kind of connection. I just lived in it for so long. I learned a little bit, I hope.
So is what you're writing fiction or nonfiction, if I
So
may?
I've owed them a sequel, which can't be a sequel now. The first book was 7 years ago, but I am still working on a work of fiction. And in fact, that's now, if I'm trying to procrastinate on, but I am also working on a second book of essays. They're just really fun and more manageable. And I found I have collected, since the first book of essays, I keep collecting, this is how I started the first one, titles, like whatever the title is, so here's something I want to write about. So the rule is, when I'm working, I can work on the essays or I can go work on the novel, but I can't go Google anything or, order like coat hangers. Like I'm not allowed to do that.
Well, that's good. It's good to have impose some sort of order. But, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think you're right that, I think that's true for all novelists, at least. I think with essays, it's maybe a little bit easier to feel like, I know how to write an essay, I'm going to write another essay. But I think novels, you can't, you really do have to learn how to do it every single time, which is terrible. It's terrible.
It's terrible, but I would like to know, because you are far more experienced and accomplished than I, what your process is were you going to talk about this later, or am I allowed to interview you? Is this what we're supposed to be doing?
I mean, who cares? Who cares? Like, people can track me down anyway. Like, what I will say is just that, every time, my only process that I really believe in is that I have to fool myself into thinking that I know what's going to happen. And so I write not like an intense, not like the outline of a smart person who really knows where they're going, but the outline of like a person who'd be like, you go up there, you turn left after the house, it's not precision. But just sort of just like general feelings.
Right.
And I do that just so I think I know what's going to happen. And then I can get lost and go wherever I go. And then I go back and I fix the outline once I actually know what's going to happen. But that's the only way. I feel like it's probably like a dog training method or something, it's just, you have to show confidence
to yourself
and to your Word document. Otherwise you'd just be sitting there with a blinking cursor being like, oh God, no, why is this my job?
But how, in the case of this book, because the way my brain works, which I think is, again, more maybe actor brain, is I feel like the characters start, this sounds insane, but talking to me, I'm like, oh, I know what Franny wants to do. And then it's almost like I'm in a conversation. Does that have anything to do with?
Yeah. I love dialogue and I love characters. And so I do, I feel like that's when it actually gets easier. Is when I feel like I know the characters well enough that I can actually hear what they would say. And then it does start to feel like not something that I am forcing them to say, but it's something that they really would say, which is a neat trick of the brain.
Which character did you start with, or did you always know it was going to be generations of a family?
What, you guys, Lauren Graham I'm just trying to be my self in my shiny jacket, and Lauren is asking me serious questions about my book. Okay.
I'm genuinely curious. I can call you later if you want.
I always knew that it was going to be generations, just because I like that. I like more people, having more people involved. But I don't know. I mean, this book, it feels like it took me 100 years. It'll be 4 years. It's 4 years since my last book. But yeah, it took me a long time to figure out what the story was and who the people were and what they were, what was going on. I mean, talk about editors. This time I feel like I really made my editor really work really hard. And we worked hard together and it was tough. I feel like previously with other books, I've turned it in and they've been like, okay, great, more or less. And this time they were like, Emma,
long. This is the last serious question I'll ask you, but why? Because it was a mess plot wise, or it was too long, or it was
No, I think it was just that before this book, when I had written novels, I had either 0 children or one child. And this time I had 2 children, and then we opened a bookstore. And so just my the part of my brain that focuses had shrunken significantly. And so that I mean, so it was hard. I was still so happy working and so happy writing, and I enjoyed it all because I don't know why anyone would do this if they didn't want to, but but I definitely needed someone to help me, like, sort of, you know, wade back through it and really help me think about, like, okay, so what is this? Like, what is this story, and like which parts of this story really matter to me, and let's try, you know, let's try to make it good. And we did it. I don't want to give people the wrong impression. I am very proud of this book. It looks like this.
Yes, I love the cover too.
Thank you. I can take no credit for the cover. It's very beautiful, but I didn't.
It's very beautiful.
Thank you. Okay, wait, so wait, did you get a quarantine puppy, Lauren Graham? This is my.
No, I got a puppy before all of this, and now I got a puppy before all of this, which seemed like just a fun thing to do, and I was gonna, you know, have dog walkers and help and stuff, and two things I didn't consider: one, a global pandemic, and two, the parents were not around of the puppies because they were rescues and from a bad situation. And I never asked the question, how big do you think they'll get? And this dog is already like so large that it sort of mirrors the feeling of being in quarantine. I'm like, we don't know when this is going to end. We don't know how long this is going to go. We don't know how big this is going to get. And like, it's all in my anxiety about the dog, but she's mainly fantastic. Except I also didn't ask questions like, I don't really like getting up early. Will this dog get up early? Because, you know, people can tell you that. No, they can't, but she gets up really early. So no, but I'm really glad that people have cleared the shelters to a greater degree, but then what happens to anyway? Yeah. No.
But you have something cuddly. Like, I think, I feel like that is the key to all of this.
If you like cuddling a horse, I mean, it's, you know, she at this point she's still cuddly, but it might be record breaking.
Yeah. Well, Lauren, I'm really proud of you for having the world's biggest dog, and that's an accomplishment to add to your very, very, very long list.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on my pretend Zoom talk show.
I love it.
Means the world to me.
You're so welcome, and thank you for writing such an enjoyable book. They couldn't be more appreciated during these difficult times. I hate when people say that, but but it's true, and I hope I get to see you in Brooklyn real soon.
Yes, me too.
Okay.
So Lauren, you can turn off your camera,
please. All right.
Yeah. Okay, let's give her time.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye. Okay. Lauren Graham, everybody, come on. Whew, that was exciting. Okay. So our next musical guest is someone who I have known for a very, very, very long time. Maybe while he's singing, I'll go grab an artifact that's nearby that's funny. So Stephin Merritt, who you may know from his bands, The Magnetic Fields, The Gothic Archies, The Sixths, or from his solo albums recorded as Stephin Merritt. I used to be Stephin's personal assistant, and that's why whenever I ask him to do goofy things, he humors me and he says yes. And among the many things he has said yes to is to let me use a line from his song as an epigraph. So the song that Stephin is going to sing is called You Love to Fail. I just want to point out before Stephin comes on that Sharon sang like a single from her very, very recent record. You Love to Fail is from the very, very, very first Magnetic Fields record, which came out in 1991. And Stephin didn't even sing it on the record. So let's see if he learned all the verses. All right, Stephin, if you can please make your video a video and make your mute a not mute. Hi, Stephen.
Hello.
Okay, I'm going to make my video go away so people can just look at you, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I will begin. Maybe tomorrow I'll see love in your eyes, and mine will dry. Maybe tomorrow we can learn how to fly on these nasty little wings. And I wanna take you out, but you always refuse, 'cause you only play the games that you know you can lose. You love to fail, that's all you love. We don't know why you've been gone. Somebody said you're on the run. You're living where wild horses run. Well, hey, whatever turns you on. And I wanna take you out, but you always refuse, 'cause you only play the games that you know you can lose. You love to fail, that's all you love. I'll be your confidant. Come and go as you please. I'll honor and protect my Wagner and dungarees. And I wanna take you out, but you always refuse, 'cause you only play the games that you know you can lose. You love to fail, that's all you love.
Stephen, you're the best.
Thank you.
That's Stephen, everybody. All right, so I just want to show everybody. So I'm putting this on here because Stephen no longer lives in this building. I would not put his address on here otherwise. But here is my ID card from when I was Stephen's personal assistant. I was so young. I didn't know that I was, but it turns out I was. Yeah, the last time I asked Stephen to sing a song that he had not sung before on any of his records or in any of his concerts, it was at my wedding. And so I feel like I've used up my pass for a while now. Okay, so now we have come to the book selling portion of the evening. So if I could please ask Tobly, Afia, and Alexandra to turn on your cameras and your microphones, come and hang out with me. Hello.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay, so here's the thing, is that it's hard to publish a book right now, right? It's such a weird time to publish a book. And so I decided that I would invite some of my favorite debut novelists to join me. And just talk about how it's going. How is it going? How's it going, everybody? Let's start there.
I want to kick this off. I dressed my cat up for you here. I didn't have a goat outfit. I know that's in the book, but Sam is a bee. I wanted to raise awareness about how scared I am about murder hornets. So save the bees. That's about how it's going for me.
Okay, so Tobly is dressing up his cat. So that's a sign. I think that things are going super well.
Is this an intervention for me?
Yes, Tobly. I got Lauren Graham because I
Thank
thought
you.
you were a cat costume.
That was in my intervention writer, so yes.
So Afia, your book has been out for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, 4 weeks-ish, if time is time.
Yeah.
It still operates the same way it used to.
Yeah. So Afia's book is called Conjure Women. Does it show up backwards or forwards? I don't know.
It's forwards to me.
Okay, it's forwards. Okay, and there will be links to all of these authors' books in the chat, and you'll get an email about it afterwards. The whole thing, you won't be able to miss them. This book is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Yours is beautiful too. Can I sneak it in?
Oh
my
gosh. Oh.
We do a book high five across time. Think.
Okay, so wait, Afia, can I ask you?
Yes.
I don't know if this is cheating or not, but can you tell the story about the library and you know the story that I want you to tell? Can you?
I have such a bad reputation. Okay, so the short version is I love the library growing up forever and ever. I loved writing. I always knew I wanted to be a writer. I went to my local library, I was about 6 or 7, and I figured out the Dewey Decimal System. Figured out where my name would fall, my last name would fall, on the shelves, and I carved out my initials, AA, in the wood grain. So I would know exactly where they were going to land, which of course doesn't make any sense because books move. But, and then flash forward like 10 years, I ended up working there, my first job part-time. And guess what was still carved in there, shaming me to convince me to write a book, my initials. So that's the story. I have a bad reputation. No one's letting me in their libraries anymore. But
did you tell the other people working at the library?
I didn't, and I hope that they are, well, I hope they're watching, but I hope they're not watching. I hope nobody knows, but I have a rap sheet now.
I think it's a great story. I think it's great because, I mean, I think Alex Chi is the one who said, I mean, I'll just give him credit for any good advice.
As do I.
But he said that all aspiring writers should do that, should find the spot.
Should deface.
Well, no,
public property.
He didn't say deface libraries specifically, but he said to find your spot on the shelf and to sort of mark it with your finger and just to like put yourself there so that you can put yourself there eventually.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, but Tobly, so you had been working in publishing for a long time.
Right. 16 years. I retired to be a writer.
Well done. So Tobly's book is YA. It's called Stay Gold.
Yes.
It's fabulous. It's fabulous. I cried a lot, Tobly.
Thank you.
I cried a lot.
Mission accomplished. Make it cry. Did it.
Okay, so what happened? So you're working in publishing for 16 years, and the whole time you're thinking like, no, I'm obviously a YA novelist pretending, doing cosplay as a publishing professional.
It was a long undercover gig, but I pulled it off.
And so what was it that finally pushed you? Had you been writing all the while and then finally you were like, okay, I'm like, had you been trying to publish or what? Tell me.
So good question. I actually, in my spare time when I wasn't working in publishing, have written some parody musicals.
Oh, yes. Oh, I wanted to talk about that too. Okay. Yeah.
So they're parody musicals based on TV shows like Saved by the Bell, The Office, Friends. We did Kardashians and actually got sued by Andrew Lloyd Webber, which is the loudest thing that's ever happened. Try to top that. And, you know, I was sitting there one day and I was thinking how there aren't enough characters like me, trans guys. I wasn't reading stories about things that I had gone through, like wearing binders and coming out and getting misgendered. And this story kind of came to me at a sales conference, actually, And I sat down and wrote it, and it took a year on top of working a full-time job and writing musicals. But and now we have Stay Gold.
Yeah. And it's so wonderful. Okay. And so Tobly and I fell in love at
Winter Institute.
At Winter
That was our
Institute,
meet cute.
which is a book selling conference every year. And I think your book you were like a buzz. You were buzzed, which meant that Tobly had to like get up in front of like 600 booksellers and do a little pitch for the book.
Song and dance. Yeah.
But part of your song and dance was about a fund, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I would love to. So this is a book about a transgender guy saving up for his top surgery, his gender affirming surgery. And halfway through writing it, Trump passed his ban on trans people in the military. In part, he blamed for the high cost of gender affirming surgeries. So this really upset me. I'm writing this book about this kid saving up for his, and I realized I want to use this book to help people. So I have created the Stay Gold Fund. We'll be providing financial assistance for gender affirming surgeries to trans and non-binary people that need them. Not everybody needs it. But right now, I think about all the people losing their savings. I think about people losing their jobs and their health care, and now they're unable to get those surgeries. And it's only inspired me to want to get more of them, help more.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. So really, I mean, if you buy this book, not only are you getting a fabulous book that you will love, but you're also helping people who need it, and that helps you. It's good.
Feel good all around buying Stay Gold.
And it also helps Tobly buy more costumes for Scats.
You know, the cats need it. They need therapy for all this. That is not cheap, I'll tell you.
Okay, Alexandra, sorry, I feel like I left you to the end there.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Your book is amazing. I feel like, so one of the things that I love about this book, it's called Days of Distraction, everybody. There you go. You can click a little link and buy it. Is that it's told in this way that I sort of aspire to write a novel someday, which is these like crystallized fragments. I read in some reviews people call it fragments. It doesn't. And I wanted to know if you think of it that way, and if you write sort of from point A to point B always, like if you sort of can feel like you can jump around a little bit because there are sections that are more sort of apart from what comes before and after.
I do think of them as maybe less fragments, but more like vignettes or moments. I have called it, though, a fragmented novel, probably just because that's like the term that's like out there and it's easy to latch onto. But because of that structure, no, I definitely do not write from point A to point B. It's more like, it's very haphazard. A lot of movement and then like restructuring and reorganizing and then doing that all over again. I mean, I probably could still go back to it and be like, oh, this piece could go over here and this piece could go over there. I mean, I could have done that for years, but yeah, I had to stop myself at some point.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true for all, I'm sure that you guys also agree that when you open the book, you're like, I could change that sentence too, but I think it's good that you're not allowed to do that, because I think at some point everybody has to be like, okay, I'm done. So wait, Alexandra, what's your pub date? The pub date was at the end of March, right?
Right.
Yeah. So did you feel, were you already in quarantine? Yes.
Yeah. Like 2 weeks in, but I think I like was staying inside from like the beginning of March because I was like kind of freaked out, and also I work from home, so most of the time I stay inside anyway. Yeah, so I was like deep into quarantine when the book came out, like prepared for it to come out during the pandemic, at least 2 weeks prepared.
Yeah, it's such a funny feeling though, because like, I mean, like you said, you know, like, I mean, Afia said, you know, her book came out 3 weeks ago, and it feels like it could have been a decade ago.
Lifetime,
Like
yeah.
March feels really like a decade ago.
Yeah.
Which is so strange, because I think that's not usually how it feels. I mean, I guess usually, like, you know, when you publish a book, you like maybe go on a little tour and travel around a little bit, and that's exhausting and tiring, but all of this is similarly tiring. I mean, I don't know. I think in some ways it's very different, and in other ways where you're like, where am I? No. The only difference is that when you're at home, you always know where the bathroom is.
That's true.
And that's important.
An easy journey to the bathroom right after this.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Okay. So I want to hear from all of you what you have been reading in quarantine, if you've been able to read in quarantine. Some people, I mean, I have lots of books to keep me company, and I have like a whole empty bookstore full of books. But what have you been reading? How has that been going? How's your brain? How are your brains? That's my question. Afia, how's your brain?
I'll start. My brain's frazzled. It's gone, but I'm trying. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now. I'm like,
it's okay to cheat.
I'm like yanking everything off. That's where I'm at right now, where I'm like, I'm gonna read this, and then you don't. But one thing I read, I just finished Sing Unburied Sing by Jessamine Ward, because it came out while I was writing and I was hermiting, so I didn't get to read it. So I finally got to that, and I really loved that.
Yeah. No, she's a like an actual earthbound goddess. For sure. Tobly, what about you? Do you read mostly YA, or do you read, like, we didn't get into that. I have follow-up questions.
Oh. You know, I read all kinds of books. I'm reading Untamed right now, which is excellent and beautiful writing. And I'm waiting for your book. I think it's about to come in the mail. Then I'll put it in quarantine, and then I'll read it. I've been reading books about the stock market. I started buying stocks. So today I bought 3 stocks of Carnival Cruise Lines. So they're going to hear from me about, you know, decisions going forward. So I'm learning about the stock market at the wrong time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, why not? Why not now?
Carnival Cruise Line around.
Yeah.
Stockholder.
What about you, Alexandra? What have you been reading?
It took me a while to get back into reading. I think like I was reading the news a lot, and then finally like forced myself to take breaks, and started reading novels again. The first one that I read in full was Kevin Wing's New Waves, which was great, and I think is actually a really interesting book to maybe read like in conjunction with mine. Just like it was interesting to see like the overlapping themes. And then reading poetry, a friend of mine just had a collection come out called Burning Province. His name's Michael Pryor, and I've found that poetry is a little bit easier for me to digest now, like one poem at a time, and it's good for my quarantine brain.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what I can tell you just from the store is that people are buying War and Peace, and they're buying Middlemarch, and they're buying they're checking things off an imaginary list of like books to read before, I don't know, the world explodes. But I cannot imagine Middlemarch is one of my favorite books of all time, and I've read it more than once, but I couldn't read it now if you gave me $1 million. Like, I don't think I could get through like one paragraph. But what I have been reading is stuff that's really plot forward. Like I've been reading like more thrillers and things like that, and romances, things where you're like, oh, okay, this person got murdered. Who did it? I'm going to find out in 200 pages, you know? Or like, you know that these two characters are going to fall in love, but like, how does it happen and what gets in their way? And that's like how I have been reading, and like really happy reading. You know, I think that sometimes people get into this funny mode where they think that it's like, I don't know, reading is supposed to do something else, like whether it's to educate you or to feed your soul, right? Yes, great, yes, it does those things, but it can also really be pleasure. Ooh, somebody said in the chat, good talk, a graphic memoir. That's a graphic memoir. That's fabulous. Yeah, and Untamed, Tobly, was wild. I did a Zoom like this with Glennon, and that was
Top 10 Zooms for you.
it was Reese Witherspoon crashed the Zoom. And then I gave her a weird compliment about her hat. Great. It worked out great for all of us except for me, because it was awkward. It's fine. Okay, wait, I want to see what else. I know it's 8 o'clock already. I don't want to keep everybody forever. There are so many of you people here. Okay, I feel like I should wrap it up because I don't want to take up everyone's time too much. But so in conclusion, here are the books that you're supposed to buy. Okay, there's this one. There's this one. And there's this one. Okay. And then if you want, there's this one too. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I wish you all so much luck. And I especially wish that your second novel does not come out in a pandemic. I think you're going to be gold. Stay gold, right? I think you're going to be great. It's going to be fine. And your books are wonderful, and they will find their readers, and I'm going to help.
And congrats to you.
Wait. There was one other thing that I was going to say. Other places for you attendees to spend your money. So there's an organization called BINC, which is the Book Industry Charitable Foundation. We made t-shirts that say "Stay Safe, Read Books." And we've raised almost $10,000 for BINC already. BINC provides all kinds of financial support for booksellers. And right now, when so many booksellers have been laid off or don't have healthcare, et cetera, that is a great place to spend your money. And then also a friend of mine who's a chef at a restaurant that is closed now, obviously, started an amazing organization called the Food Issues Group, and a specific program called the Frontline Community Food Relief, where basically he's pairing up restaurants and people who make food with organizations that can help distribute food. And they're working with a couple of places that we've raised money for in the past, the Ali Forney Center, Cal and Lord, a lot of great places that do important work. And so you should give them your money too. And then, come back here tomorrow and we'll just Zoom all over again. Thank you so much, everybody.